Wilson, do you want to tell him what's going on?
I am in the hospital for a day or more.
Yup, you sure are.
Because I have a blood draw that's taking a day or more.
Yeah, he has an IV. He had to get an IV because he has appendicitis. Huh. So, pretty soon he's gonna get his appendix out.
Will they get a new one?
No, you don't need it. It's a weird part of your body you don't really need.
How will we get the rocks out?
They're inside of it. There's apparently some stones in his appendix, is what they were saying, that are blocking it and causing some bacteria or infection. They haven't told us exactly when, but we're in this room that I think is a waiting room for that. So pretty soon.
I hope it's not soon. I hope it's at night.
You want it to be at night, I know. But it's probably going to be soon. Okay?
What time is it?
I don't know, because I'm using my phone to film. I think it's probably about 10 o'clock, maybe 11.
That will take forever.
Yeah, you'll be okay, though. You're going to do great, bud.
He's pretty tired. He's already fallen asleep, and they haven't even given him the anesthesia. It's okay.
Okay, it's a laparoscopic removal.
You're gonna do
of
great.
Right adnexal mass.
You don't remember having a dream?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. Okay, leave the cords alone, okay? Good job, buddy. What was it like going in the room, bud?
It was like a little bumpy ride.
Uh-huh. It's monitoring your heart rate. Just leave it there, okay?
Okay.
Huh? What?
It did the squish.
What?
It did the squish.
What did the squish?
This.
Your arm? Oh. Yeah, it checks your blood pressure every so often up on... There's a computer up here behind your head.
Okay.
So you remember a bumpy ride going in the room?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Surgery be finished.
You had a dream of the surgery being finished?
Yeah, but my shoes were on.
What?
But my shoes were on.
But your shoes were on? Yep, I guess that would be a dream then. Okay, I think it's almost time to go to a different room, okay?
Okay.
Okay. You got a popsicle. I think he's feeling better.
And the best popsicle I've ever had.
Alright, so Colson, we got you a little something. You want to open it? Yeah, he's good. What do you think?
I like it.
You like it? That's good. There's something else in here too. It's a book. We can read it later. How's that sound?
Okay.
Yeah. Here's your new teddy. You got a new bear. What?
Is there anything else?
What?
Is there anything else?
Nope, that's all. Just those two. Is that good? You like them? Okay. What's going on?
Hey, we haven't vlogged yet. I figured this
Oh.
is an exciting-ish thing to vlog about.
I got back from the doctor a couple hours ago.
It was more than a couple. It was early afternoon.
Yeah.
And now it's time to get ready for bed.
Yeah.
And I've been gone and Rhea hasn't seen me for a day.
Yep, you were gone for a
Yesterday.
whole day and a half.
Yeah. And she barely even able to see me today.
So sad. Did you actually vlog about what happened?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I vlogged about a lot. I can do a recap later.
Okay. Well, right now we're
Made a
just
bed.
I got two
I mean, we vlogged-
bandages.
two bandages.
We did vlog
One
about what happened, but it wasn't as thorough, I think.
Yeah.
I got one bandage from a surgery and one from an IV.
Yep. Good job. Now we're trying to make a little bed on the floor for him because we
It
don't
looks
think
like
he
he
should be
gets
climbing the ladder for a day or two.
Or
So, what are you doing, Bennett?
He's trying to
Get out of there!
He's trying to kiss.
He's
and
been
throw
trying to
up.
climb in there.
Yeah,
And I
Bennett.
told him he couldn't climb in, so now he's trying to dive in every time.
I
And
don't
he's
want
trying
that.
to throw up and kiss in there.
Ew.
Ew. Well, that's what it looks like.
Bennett also thinks this little bed is hilarious to walk on.
Oh, and,
Bennett, get out of there!
and
Great. Okay, well, it looks like the battery's gonna die on here, so.
Yes.
Dad
Hey.
thought that it.
Hmm?
Dad thought that it looked like that was about to kiss the baby in
So
there.
cute.
You mean so silly?
So silly.
Okay. So, here's the story of what happened with Coulson. I don't know how much I actually explained of this in the hospital. So I'm kind of going to go through the whole thing now. So basically, Coulson was sick on the way home for the last, 3 days of our trip. Where he had a sore throat that started on Sunday, and then he had an off and on stomach ache, and his chest was hurting a couple times, and I didn't think a whole lot of it, but, at least the first time I didn't, because I assumed he'd been leaning on something. Anyway, so then we get home, and everything seems fine. Went to bed. We went to bed, and then Coulson woke up screaming for us because his stomach was hurting so bad. Just really upset. He was crying at first, but yeah, so he was really upset about it. I was worried because it was obviously hurting him a lot more, and so I'm immediately worried about appendicitis because I've heard horror stories. And so I have him stand there and I poke the spot on the belly where the appendix is, right? And it didn't add to his pain. So I figured, okay, it's not that. But he was having trouble breathing because when he would inhale, it would hurt his stomach. So, after he asked for a blessing, and after the blessing, I just had a feeling that we should take him to the hospital. So I took him to the hospital, and at 3 a.m, and after waiting in the waiting room until it was almost 7 when we finally got into a room. And then we had to wait another 45 minutes for the doctor to get there, and while we were waiting, they did take an x-ray of his chest and stomach, and the doctor came in after the x-rays were done and was like, okay, the x-rays don't show anything, so, and asked us some questions. I explained that he had been sick, and so she's like, okay, it's probably viral, but we like to cover our bases, so we'll give him the ultrasound for the for appendicitis, and we'll test him for strep. Sometimes strep causes kids to have stomach aches, and we'll do these like viral tests and need a urine sample, all this stuff. And so we did all that. Also, when the doctor came in, his stomach had pretty much stopped hurting, just about then. Oh, also in the waiting room, it kept switching between his chest and his stomach, and there were times that he was practically crying about how he just wanted to get in to see the doctor. Why was it taking so long? And, oh, that's a whole nother story. It was like they would only take people back once every hour. So they were taking like 5 people in once an hour to be checked, which seemed ridiculous since when we got there were like 20 people there. Anyway, so they check the x-rays don't show anything. They do these other tests, and it turns out that his appendix is swollen. Doctor said that normally his appendix should be about 6 millimeters, and it was 13. It was also hard to push on, which I guess is a sign that there's like stones in it, and if there's stones in it, then it's probably blocked, and if it's blocked, then bacteria are going to grow in it. Oh, appendixes just seem like a problem. I feel like we should just remove them as babies, since everyone says they don't do anything. Of course, they probably do something, but anyway.
I was reading yesterday that they're part of the immune system when you're a kid, but then the rest of your immune system takes over and they stop doing anything by the time you're an adult.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well,
That's what it said.
Coulson already doesn't have the best immune system. He gets sick all the time, so
He's in trouble now.
what does this mean? Anyway, though maybe this is part of the problem. Maybe it's been blocked a while. So, they then have to prep him for appendicitis. They take him in. It takes so long to get anything done at hospitals. They're like, okay, we're gonna do this now, and then like 45 minutes later, it might happen. At least in the emergency room areas. Once we finally got up to the to the room for him that we were in last night, it was fine. But and they were more on top of things. That's what I mean. My brain's really scattered because I'm tired. So they moved him to it's like the room that you go. You wait for surgery, right? There's just a bunch of people in there that they're going to be the next people to get surgery. So while we're waiting in there, I am just a wreck, just so worried about my son and how scared he's going to be, because I'm not going to be going in with him, and all these other things, like just going through my mind, what could go wrong, everything. And I'm just having a really hard time, and he's nervous, but holding it together a lot better than I am. I had to stop myself crying several times. And then he actually asked me for another blessing. And I was kind of kicking myself, like, I can't believe I didn't think of that. But then giving him the blessing, I was having trouble getting the words out because I was crying, and afterwards, because I was in my glasses, afterwards I had like a pool of water because I was looking down, and just a pool of water on each of my lenses. Oh, it was so ridiculous. And Colson's like, are you crying? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just a little worried about you or whatever. But he did good, and they wheeled him out, and he's such a funny kid. All the adults love him because he just asks them whatever question pops in his head. Like, oh, before we got in there, they put the IV in his arm, which he did not like, and that's what he fixated on. Where whenever he talked to anybody, he would just be like, because they just put it in, and he's like, and I have to keep this in my arm for a whole day. Because they said it would probably be like at least a day before he went home, and that's what he got stuck on. And I'm like we were calling people, and and that's what he's telling them. And I'm like, you're supposed to tell them that you have to have your appendix out, you know. Oh, it was funny. But that's what he was stuck on. And he also, like, did not move his arm, basically, for a full day. It was probably about 24 hours from when they stuck that thing in to when they took it out so we could leave. And during that time, he, like, barely moved his arm because it hurt to move. If it stayed still, he couldn't feel it, but if he moved it, it hurt. They also have these new, like, rubber tips in the... Sarah just came over. I hadn't told you this part. They have these new, like, rubber tips. So they use a needle to stick it in, but then they pull the needle part out, and it's just like a little rubber tube so you can, like, move your elbow without damaging anything. It's really neat. Anyway.
That would have been nice for my wrist.
I know. That's why I had to tell you. Was
Trying to take care of Bennett with a needle, like, in my wrist right here. And I'm like, I can't take care of a newborn baby like this.
Yeah. So hopefully you get one of those.
Well, I've been planning on just telling him, put it in my arm, not my wrist, please.
Yeah. Yeah, so, where was I? Sarah's eating now. She's gonna love this clip with the sounds of herself eating. So then... Oh yeah, he went into surgery, and I had to find my way to the waiting room. And they have this little trick for the... It's the waiting... It's the room for the, like, family members while they're waiting for the loved one to get out of surgery. And inside that room is where the gift shop is. Which is, like, a great marketing design. Like, that's... You're gonna sell more stuff right there. And sure enough, I bought something. Granted, I was planning on it anyway. When they mentioned that it was right next to the gift shop, I was like, oh... I should get him something. So I got him a bear and a book. And the book is called, what was it? Daddy Loves You So Much.
Something like that, yeah.
It's like Daddy Loves You So, because it was a book that I was really relating to at that moment. I was such a wreck. Oh, it was so hard. And then I waited. I only had to wait for about an hour. And then they took me into the room, and into the room that the like recovery room where they just have like lines of beds for when they bring people out of surgery. And they said, okay, when he wakes up, we'll take him up to his room. But that's when I realized he had woken up at like 2 a.m. He had not gotten enough sleep. And so even after the anesthesia wore off, I wasn't sure he was going to wake up anytime soon. We actually kind of had to wake him up. And then I talked with him. Like, we chatted for like 5 minutes. And then he went back to sleep because he was just so tired. But he also... Oh, he was funny. He seemed... I think I might have gotten a clip of this. Where he just seemed... He seemed kind of out of it. And like he was still more fixated on the needle in his arm than he was on the surgery, because he couldn't feel the surgery part, and he was like surprised that it had already happened. It was pretty funny. But yeah, so then we but the thing is that then when they called up to the like children's part of the hospital, they were like, oh yeah, we're making some space. It'll just be a little bit. It was like 6 hours. No, more than that. It was 7 hours before we managed to get up to a room. So we were just in this room, or maybe 6 hours. It was almost 8 when we got in there. And I think I had been brought in from the waiting room at 1. So yeah, 7 hours. And like there was a point where it was just us and like 3 nurses in that big room that had like, I think 10 spaces for people recovering, and we'd seen people come and go and just sitting there all by ourselves, basically. But at the same time, in a room occupied by other people. Oh, I'm rambling. I was supposed to make this short. Anyway, so then we finally got moved up to that room, and like before that, Colson had just been so bored for like most of the time, and also like out of it and miserable. So like he'd watched a couple shows on the iPad, and he played a couple games on it, but he didn't want to play those for very long. He got bored really fast. Was just like, okay, I'm done. You, like, put it away. And then he'd just sit there like staring. He was so tired and out of it though. I felt so bad. But then we got up to the room, and he had fallen asleep again like minutes before we went up there. It was so funny. As he was just like like they were prepping him to get him ready to go, and then he fell asleep again, and it was just like, okay, great. But then he woke up as they were actually getting started. And then they had like a Wii hooked up to a little TV on rollers right outside of our room. The doctor had left it there because he'd told Colson that there was one, and Colson was like, oh, I love video games. So he's like, okay. So he requested it to be left for Colson to play.
Nice.
And so we got in the room, and suddenly he wasn't tired anymore because there was video games to play. Mm-hmm. So we played some Mario and some Mario Kart. And then I had to make him stop so he'd go to bed. And the next day that was this morning, isn't it? So this morning we played some more, and yeah, that's pretty much what he did all morning. Until the pediatrician finally came in to tell us we could go. The pediatrician yesterday told us that we could probably leave or stay depending on how he was feeling, and he chose to stay. His exact words were, "It'll be like a sleepover." I was okay with it though, because I was a little worried about how soon it was and if he was really ready for like walking and things yet. And so I was kind of glad that he picked to stay. And then the pediatrician came in, checked him, and she was like, okay, has he gotten up to walk? And I'm like, no, he hasn't gotten up. And Colson was like, I have gotten out of bed, and he's talking about getting out of bed to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, you mean before the surgery? And he's like, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, you have to be able to walk after the surgery. So I got him out and got him walking, and he's like trudging along really slow and bent over, and we walked around that little area. They only had like 10 rooms in there, so it kind of made sense why there wasn't space for us. After walking around for a bit, and he's hobbling the whole time, like bent over, and then I showed him they had this touch screen table with like games on it. Suddenly he didn't have any problem standing anymore. He was fine. It was funny. He stood there playing that for over an hour, I'm pretty sure. Just having fun. He was sad to leave the hospital.
Yeah, he told me he had a great time there.
Yeah, he was talking about how it was his favorite doctor's appointment that he'd ever gone to. He said something about how, like, because they didn't hurt him, they hurt him the least. And I was like, I don't think that's true, but I guess you were asleep for most of it. But yeah, he had a lot of fun and didn't want to go. And then once we were almost down to the car is when he finally started, or no, we were in the car before he started mentioning that he did miss his home. he missed being home. And then we got home and he told Mom, like, oh, I miss being here. I miss my home. And I was like, not when you were there, you didn't, because he was, well, I mean, I guess he did before the surgery and before we got in that little room. I'm filming you because you're cuter than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I did find funny. Ugh,
I don't know where she's going. Oh.
so excited about the new socks that he got at the hospital. I'm so excited about having new hospital socks.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
I thought it was funny that he was talking about that because he didn't want to wear them last night.
Yeah.
Like, they were in the room and I was like, do you want to put on these socks? And he's like, no. No, I don't. But they like...
He doesn't wear socks to bed.
Yeah.
He always
They
takes them off. If he's wearing
they
socks.
made him put on the socks just to walk around.
Yeah.
Like, so it was towards the end of our time there that he finally put on socks, and suddenly he loved them, and I had to squeeze his foot into him over these into his shoes over the thick socks when we were leaving, because he didn't want to take those off.
He was having fun trying to decide what the S stands for too. I think he was like, maybe it's sick, or service, because hospitals do lots of service. Or there was something else. I can't remember what it was though.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was just socks. Maybe it stands for socks.
In case you thought they were mittens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an adventure. I was so tired being up that late, and then I didn't really get food until like so last night they had Coulson on a liquid diet, and so I got the leftovers of the food that he didn't want, so I was on a liquid diet too till we got up to the room. They did bring me a sandwich once we were up in that room.
That's
It was
good.
very nice of them. It was pretty funny. And then this morning I got his leftovers breakfast, which wasn't very much. He liked the breakfast. I didn't get any of the bacon.
Oh.
He ate all of the bacon. I got about half of his like Fruit Loops and 3 bites of the French toast. Anyway, this is a long clip.
Yes.
It's a 22-minute clip. You're gonna hate this,
I'm gonna be cutting a lot, I'm sure.
probably. But I wanted to get the full story for the record.
Yeah.
So we don't forget about this crazy time when we accidentally found out that he had. It's very much a thing where I feel like it's a blessing, because I'm not sure that the pain in his chest and stomach were caused by the appendix, because most of the time it was in his chest. And so it just, and like his stomach wasn't hurting, pushing on it wasn't hurting. Even the surgeon said that like it wasn't that bad. It was just a little bit swollen and like red, and that was it. Like normal, it sounded like normally it's way worse when they find out that you have appendicitis. And so it's like he's going to be able to recover really quick because of this, and like it really feels like just a huge blessing that we were able to catch it this early. I wish it hadn't been, just after we got back, so I was already really tired, and but it was nice that we were able to get it done, and my boy's okay. Poor kid isn't allowed to like run or play anything or lift anything for like a month. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to make it a whole month. I think we'd be lucky if he waits a whole week before he tries to pick up Bennett again. Bennett's definitely too heavy.
Anyway.
Yay, 25 minutes.